Peace and greetings to everyone who has taken the time to tune in to the debut show of my podcast called Sheppard Indoctrination. This podcast is a destination for realism. I'm not going to put any sauce on anything. I'm not going to overstate or understate any facts about what I talk about and what I discuss. It's just going to be facts, not my opinion. Obviously, it's very important for the viewing audience to know who is sitting in front of them and why am I qualified to do this and talk to the audience the way I'm going to do it. Well, I'll lay it out to you in bullet point fashion, and I'll try to be as brief as possible. I'm a 73-year-old mixed-race man that was born and raised on 79th Street on the south side of Chicago. Unfortunately, I was raised in an area with a lot of gang violence, and I was caught up in that gang violence, which restructured my life. I never was able to relax, if you want to say. I was never able to connect to people very well because I just didn't trust coming from that lifestyle, and it really hampered my development. In 1971, I was drafted by the U.S. Army, and from 1971 to 1974, I functioned as a sniper in the U.S. Army Infantry. I am now a disabled veteran. After I was released from the military, I decided to go ahead and live my dream and try to find a way to support myself and become an integral part of the recording industry. I moved from Chicago and I went to Los Angeles. My first, I guess you could say, taste of success came in 1987. And it was because I put a recording group together called By All Means. It was a neo-soul group. And I was lucky enough and blessed enough to be able to get a deal for the group with Island Records. This group put out our first single, which was a remake of Marvin Gaye's classic hit, Let's Get It On. Let me tell you something, this record blew up all across the country, and it established my name, my group's name, and the way I was doing business and productions, and it was just a blessing for me. My success at Island Records led me to being contacted by the president of Motown Records, which obviously is Mr. Berry Gordy. Mr. Gordy offered me a A&R position at Motown Records and a staff producer and writer's job at Motown. And this was in last part of 1989, beginning of 1990. While I was at Motown, I was asked to produce I want you to hear me now, 3 Grammy Award winning artists who were The Temptations, Anita Pointer, the Pointer Sisters, and Gerald Alston. It was, I don't know how to say it any different. It was such a pleasure to have that experience. We sold over 11 million records worldwide, and my songs are contained on the Motown Greatest Hits package that is out in the marketplace today. I'm very proud of that. After my time at Motown, which was about 2 years, I was contacted by the Jackson family, by Jermaine Jackson and his mother, Katherine Jackson. They asked me to join the family business that they were starting. It was a TV and developmental creative company. And I gladly joined the family. And that was in 1992. As soon as I joined the family, Jermaine Jackson and I put together, it was his idea originally, but I helped him formulate how we went ahead and we put together a show called The Jackson Family Honors. This show was so cool. It united all the family members of the world-famous Jackson family on stage for the very first time to do a live performance. It was amazing for even me to watch. And after I did that, and I worked at the Jackson estate for 2 years, I had an itch to get back into the creative side of music. And I decided to embark upon establishing a rap music label in Los Angeles. My company that I established was called G-Vine Entertainment. And my focus, as it has been for the past 35 years, was to steer young men who were caught up in gang violence away from that and to give them an opportunity to develop their skills and hopefully make a career in the recording industry. I worked at Capitol Records for approximately 2 years developing my label, about 1.5 years developing my label. And while I was there doing that, I was approached by the chairman and the president of Capitol for a very interesting adventure, and that was Capitol wanted to buy Death Row Records. Capitol did not have the hookups to bring Suge Knight to the table, and therefore the deal that they were trying to pursue was just held in neutral. That was until I got there. They found out my association with certain people who had a great relationship with Suge, and I also had a respectful relationship with the man. My friend, who was raised with him, his name is Lee Ford. He contacted Suge for me, put us together, and we went off on this journey where we negotiated with Capitol Records for almost 2 months. Unfortunately for me, the deal was done with the Seagram's owner and went to Universal, MCA Records. But the experience was such an incredible thing for me. When I think back to that time, it was really mind-blowing. It was like a country music label trying to get into black music, but not just black music. They wanted to go all the way to gangster rap. I've never seen anything like it. Nevertheless, the taste of rap music for me resurfaced, and my creative juices started to gel. And I signed my first artist in 1994, and his name was DJ Battlecat. He was a young man just starting out, and he was riding a hit by the artist that he had produced called Domino. I heard his production on Domino's project, and I loved it. And I knew that DJ Battlecat was the only person that I wanted to work with to develop my label at Capitol Records. Unfortunately, during this time, we recorded the entire project. Ice Cube was on it, Coolio, a lot of stars. But what did Capitol do? Capitol Records, after they couldn't close the deal with Death Row, they decided to get out of the business of black music. Therefore, my label was shut down. Everybody was told to go do what you needed to do. It was a very unsettling time. That was at the end of 1994, 95. And then I was contacted by the one and only DJ Quick. We had discussions back and forth, and Quick asked me to manage his career, and I gladly accepted the challenge. I worked and managed DJ Quick's career from 1994 until 2005. We had so much success, hit after hit after hit. It was a fun time. After I started working with DJ Quick and DJ Battlecat, I formed a label called Sheppard Lane Records. We, my business partner and I, we established DJ Quick across the country, DJ Battlecat's music, and we also introduced an incredible new artist by the name of Sugar Free. I know most people in the country have heard of him, and he's such a talent. I love that young man. He was our first release. His single, If You Stay Ready, was our first release on Sheppard Lane Records, and it went #1 in the Western region. After we signed Sugar Free, I was introduced to a young man out of the east side of Compton, and his name was Johnny Burns. Most people know him today as Mossberg. Rest in peace, young man. Mossberg came to my label. I took over management for him, and we recorded an incredible group of records along with Sugar Free called The Connected Project, and it became a West Coast classic, as did Mossberg's album entitled Nonfiction. After we did that, we were promoting the artist, the multi-platinum artist, Cocaine. Need I say anything about Cocaine? Come on, man, he's the superstar status. Also, Glasses Malone, the iconic person that, come on, man, he's just that good. He's that creative, and he's that good. So, at that time, I had two of the biggest and hottest producers on the West Coast, being DJ Battlecat and DJ Quick. We had Sugar Free, Mossberg, Cocaine, and Glasses Malone. It's never been done before. Not that many artists on the same label. That's a new label. Sheppard Lane went on to be the second most successful independent rap music label in the history of the West Coast, only second to Death Row. We had 13 #1 Western region records on DJ Quick, Sugar Free, Mossberg, and 2 incredible albums by Quick, and also the Connected Project. We were hot as fire. You couldn't tell us anything. We were happy. We were doing our thing. And then Mossberg was killed. And everything changed. I went on with my work, but with the death of Mossberg, it took everything out of me. He was special to me. I met him when I was 52 years old. I just got into rap at that age, and Mossberg was 19. We bonded like father and son, and I miss him. He was killed on July 4th, year 2000, in the city of Compton. And it kind of tore our label apart. I wanted to do something different, and so I embarked upon trying to find artists that obviously weren't pushing as hard as from a street perspective as our artists on Sheppard Lane. But guess what? The major record companies didn't want that. They wanted that Sheppard Lane gangsterism. They wanted that rawness that we were putting out. And quite frankly, you couldn't debate why they wanted to do it, because they were making money, they being the major record company. As time passed, I started to understand the mechanics of the West Coast rap music scene. And it was very, very, very evil. I saw things and experienced things in rap music that I never thought I would encounter. And on my upcoming episodes, I will discuss that in more detail. But believe me, it was no joke. I came on at that time in 1995, 96, pushing DJ Quick, and DJ Quick had a death threat on him. Unfortunately, it wasn't removed. Therefore, it was a very difficult time for me because I had a death threat put on me as well, being Quick's manager. The West Coast rap music scene became very, very crowded with volatile players on both the East Coast and the West Coast. At my label, at Sheppard Records, there was nothing but violence, and it had nothing to do with the East Coast. That was something totally different. We had 18 murders of the people that worked at my label and the people we were attached to. And it just, I don't know how to say it. And all of the killings were internal. It wasn't one side of the streets killing the other side. No, it was all internal. Money was driving everybody crazy. Power was driving everybody crazy. And I don't know how to explain it any different other than to say you could not be affected by what was going on as far as the streets of Los Angeles were concerned. If you weren't with a Piru organization, if you weren't with a Crip organization, if you weren't with a Blood organization, you had very, very little chance for success. The only artists that were getting signed during those years were artists that were coming and launched by an already established organization and an already established producer. Obviously, I managed 2 of the 3 biggest producers ever from the West Coast, being DJ Battlecat and DJ Quick. When, I guess what I'm getting ready to tell you is that this is where gangsterism and creative ideas take a left turn. Because in rap music in Los Angeles, I was told on numerous occasions, Stan, if you don't let DJ Quick and DJ Battlecat work on our artist projects, it could be very bad for you, and it could be very bad for your artist. When I started to hear these types of conversations, I knew how serious this was. And I won't bore you with a lot of details, but just understand, when I come back to talk to you about the things that I've encountered and the things that I've seen, you'll be blown away, because I was, as has everybody who has been around me. The combination of success, money, gangsterism, and major labels, that's a toxic blend. And there's no way around saying it other than that. There's devil practices, gangsterism, lying, stealing, and everything else negative that you can think of. But I got a great education. And I knew what I didn't want to do. And I stopped. and I redirected my life. So just understand something. I'm going to sign off on this particular podcast date, and I'm going to come back next week, and I'm going to start getting into the specifics of what I experienced in the record industry and why it's so evil and destructive. And you really have to think long and hard about getting into this business because of what I'm going to educate you on. So until then, I want to wish you peace, prosperity, and love in your life, because there's too much negativity around us. There's too much violence. And quite frankly, it's got to stop somewhere, or we're all in major trouble. I ask you to heed those words and understand that if we all put our good feelings together, if we all work together, maybe something can change. I don't know. I got no crystal ball. But I know one thing, the way that we're going right now and the current state of hip-hop is crap, in my opinion. It's nothing but violence and death. And you young people are destroying what you call your culture. And you're going to be ruining potential jobs and the money-earning potential for everyone around you and yourself, because you're practicing ignorance. And it gets old. So on that note, everybody have a blessed day, and I'll look forward to speaking to you next week. God bless.